Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closures.io, where we explore the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Malan, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the strategies fueling future growth. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Caroline Lamont, a leadership coach and business mentor who guides women in leadership, especially coaches and well-being practitioners, to build order, confidence, and sustainable systems that free energy for high-impact work. Drawing from her background in media strategy, functional medicine, and entrepreneurship, she helps clients strip away overwork, implement routines that stick, and lead with steady assurance using the one of many power types framework. With that being said, Caroline, let me officially welcome you to Founders Future.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey as well. Now, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to hop right into it. What I love to do at the beginning of every single episode is a bit of traveling back in time. So before you even had this company, what were you doing before? And then eventually, what was the motivation for starting the business?
Of course. So, my background prior to working for myself was in corporate. I worked in advertising, more specifically media planning, for 20 years essentially. I worked both in agencies, global agencies, very big agencies, and then the last few years of my career, I worked for the Lego Group, the very famous toy company, and I was their global media director there. When I eventually left the Lego business, I made the decision to retrain as a health coach, and I'll explain a little bit why that happened. And whilst I was retraining, I was also doing consultancy in my field of media planning, which was very lucrative, but wasn't ultimately what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was work in the health sector.
I love that though.
And
Yeah. Now, what
I,
you mentioned about, yeah,
yeah,
retraining yourself, just tell us a little bit more about that.
yes. So my story is that I was diagnosed in 2012 with autoimmune condition, rheumatoid arthritis, and that started obviously a very long journey with my own health in terms of how to manage my condition. And eventually in 2016, having had a lot of challenges with medication and with the condition to becoming much more aggressive, I started making significant changes to my diet and my lifestyle, which were extremely successful. And so when I left my corporate career, I made the decision that I needed to bring this to a wider audience because I was never offered that option by the conventional medical system. The only thing I was offered was medication. And it really blew my mind that, um, that this wasn't part of the care package essentially that is offered by the medical profession. So I retrained as a health coach, and eventually functional medicine because that gave me greater tools, and that essentially started my career as a entrepreneur.
I love it. I always say that when it comes to business, the journey is never linear. Like
Yeah,
there's
that's right.
so many
Completely.
so many pivots and adjusting along the way. So obviously this is the case for you as well.
Yes.
Now, Caroline, we're going to talk about where this journey got you overall and what the business looks like, especially today.
Hmm.
Now, when it comes to this part of the podcast, my goal is very clear, and it's to build some clarity for our listeners in terms of who is it currently exactly that you're trying to help right now, but also what are the core offerings that you have in place for those clients? So tell us all about them.
Yeah, of course. So I help two group of people. The first group is well-being practitioners. So whether they're health coaches, life coaches, career coaches, or even nutritionists, acupuncturists, etc. So people in the kind of change and transformation and well-being world. And I help them by bringing together, obviously, my experience of working for myself as a health coach and also a lot of the organizational and strategic skills that I, gathered both in my corporate career and in my career as a health coach. So that I'm bringing the two worlds together essentially and supporting them with their business, because I think there's been a lot of, everybody trains in this world because they have a passion and and a vision for creating change and transformation. But a lot of them don't want to run a business or don't know how to. And they spend a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of money learning how to do it, and then they don't like doing it, which I think really impacts their ability to deliver what they're passionate about, which is transformation. So I pivoted my business a year ago, roughly, to support that group of people. And then I still do leadership coaching. I kind of summarize it as leadership coaching, but really it's way broader than that, because I bring together health, transformation, leadership, empowerment, etc. And I work with female leaders. And the reason I work with them is because it's essentially my own story of being frustrated in the corporate world, of having a mildly successful, I mean, I say mildly, I was fairly successful in my career, but I always felt like I could have done more. And I didn't really understand why I wasn't able to reach those higher ambitions that I had and knew I was able to fulfill. And it's through all the work that I've done, especially in the last 3 years, when I retrained or I added leadership coaching to my toolbox of health coaching, leadership coaching, and essentially doing the work on myself to start understanding myself better and start understanding all those limiting beliefs and all the, you know, all the baggage that we collect as, we live our lives. Um, as I was starting to understand all of that, it really helped me transform how I work, and so I want to bring that to women who know they can do better and they can do more, but maybe don't really know how to. So.
Yeah. But this is interesting though, because these really are like two separate arms of the business that you're just trying to juggle and balance at one time. Now, there is a little bit of a difference though
Yeah.
between how the work process actually looks like for the first select group and the second one. So I'm curious, as of right now, which arm would you say is actually like the biggest focus for you right now? Is it working with the health practitioners and well-being
Yes.
coaching and stuff like? Yes,
Yes,
that's
that is my biggest. That's where I have a more defined offering, if you like, because I have a course which is specifically designed and priced for people starting their career as coaches or practitioners. And I have an audit which allows them to dig deep into their business. So that's a little bit more of a one-off product. And then I do ongoing support. So some of my clients call me their fractional chief operating officer, which is totally fine by me. But yes, I coach them, but I also mentor them on their business and I help them structure the business better. And we do strategy together. And if sometimes I even, structure their tech stack if that's what they need. So I can put different hats on my
you're really
head.
trying to meet them where they're at.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I love
Yeah,
that. It's
always.
definitely customized and personalized, though. You just gave us a little sneak peek in terms of what I want to talk about now, with you mentioning that this is a more defined offer and there's the course and everything like that. But let's dive deeper into this, because when it
Hmm.
comes to the offerings, I'm always curious about what is the exact structure that you have in place. Now, a lot of people in your industry are solely focusing on the model of like working with your clients one-on-one. There is a lot of people also pivoting to the world of like group coaching offers so that they have more something like scalable and they can impact a lot of people at the same time. So just walk us through like what does the client journey typically looks like from the beginning of working with you up to the point where you basically set the client for success.
Yeah. Um, I always start, which is not unique in the industry, with a call because this is often how, first of all, you need to figure out, are we compatible? Are we going to work together? That's always a priority. But the second thing is, I believe there isn't one model that's going to work for everybody. So I want to speak with the people that want to work with me to truly identify what it is that they need from me. And at that point, I will, depending on their budget, depending on where they're at with their business, I will point them to one or the other product. And essentially, it's either the course, which the course is, it could be used for more seasoned practitioners who want to create structure, but really it's designed for new coaches. So those practitioners who have just trained, they're really passionate, they have a great vision of what they want to do, but they don't really know where to start. And they could probably do it themselves, but it would take them 6 or 12 months to get to a good place, and potentially maybe never, because they don't really think, they might not think about some of the challenges or some of the topics that I'm bringing to on their plate in the course. And I think the opportunity for them is to structure the business from the day they start their business in a way that if they do want to scale, because not everybody wants to have a really huge business. Some people want to have it as a side hustle alongside a corporate career,
Mhm.
or, alongside a family. But it's allowing them to practice their to practice their coaching in a way that is the least demanding on them in terms of energy and time and money. um so that's the course. And then the one-to-one, I say one-to-one coaching, but it can be more than coaching, or it can be, even like I said, organizational structure in their business. um that tends to be for more advanced practitioners who are really at the stage of, I can't really do this by myself anymore. I have too much growth. I don't know how to keep delivering for my clients and managing my business at the same time.
I love it. It seems like there is nothing that you're really keeping like on a surface level. So if somebody actually ends up being a good fit, then you really take the time to personalize the journey for everybody that you work with, which I
100.
love. Now, when it comes to like, if you retrospectively look back at all of the people that you work with, I know again this is customized, so every case is different, but what would you say is like the average duration of you really working with a client so you can actually walk them through every step of the way and make sure that they eventually get to the point where they can say that I don't need Caroline because she taught me everything I need.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to work with my clients quite a long time. A lot of my clients will be 6 to 12 months. Some of
Mhm.
them have been with me longer than that. I I kind of leave. So I will probably every 6 months bring a conversation where we say, is this still working? Are you still getting what you need from me? How do we, move these forward? Sorry, I'm just having somebody's calling on the other line, so I had
Oh,
to
good.
turn that off. So I regularly have conversations. Probably every 6 months, we have a bit of a conversation. Um, and that's a conversation which is also reevaluating where they're at, because that's very important. You know that we kind of look back at what they wanted to achieve, where they're at, and where they want to move forward. I'm very honest with my clients, and I believe this work takes a long time. So I will, apart from my audit product, which is a kind of it's a one-off, but essentially we have 3 sessions together. But that's a very specific self-contained goal, which is identifying what are the challenges in their business. But otherwise, I truly believe this work takes a long time. And so I'm very honest, and I say, look, I think you need a minimum of 6 months with me to really achieve what you want. but even 6 months is not going to be enough. And, I look at myself, I've been on my health journey for 12 years now. And in terms of what I see as a leadership transformation, it's 3 years. And I'm still working through it.
Mhm.
I have my own coach, and we speak every 2 weeks, and,
I
so
mean, to be honest, it's sort of a never-ending story when it comes to something like this. There's always
exactly.
something that you could do better, that could be functioning better. So, yeah, absolutely. And I also love the fact, though, it definitely takes some time, though, because as you were talking about the people who even decide to go for the option to do the course instead of the one-on-one, there's still some fundamentals that you really need to have in the right place, even if you're not looking for that massive growth. If you one day decide that you want the company to grow, if you don't have the right fundamentals, what's going to happen is that it's just going to come crashing down. So I feel like it's really about you making sure that if they decide in the future that this is the direction where I want to go, they can actually do so because the
Exactly.
systems allows them. Yeah,
Exactly. And essentially what I've done is I've condensed my 5 or 6 years of looking for the answers myself into that course, which it's a 6 module course, which I kind of talk about as a 6 week program, but I actually support the clients who join me for a whole year, because I'm also very aware that it doesn't really take 6 weeks or 3 months to set up a business. But I kind of brought together a lot of the frustration that I had, and as I was growing my business, and that's essentially what I created. So it's the program that I wish I had 5 years ago or 6 years ago when I started.
absolutely. Absolutely. Caroline, let's also talk about the backhand side of everything and what's going on there because we all know that in order to succeed with a project like this, you really need to find the ability to get in front of the right people, but also do it at the right time. So especially with your background, I'm very much looking forward to get into this and really discover what is happening for you on the front of marketing and maybe specifically generating those contacts and leads for yourself to make all of this even possible.
Yeah. So this is a lot of the work that I've been doing recently, because I've done a lot of marketing mentorships, business mentorships, etc., courses, everything you can think of. And I'm still getting frustrated with my lead generation. So once I get people on the phone and they want to work with me, I tend to convert them, so I don't have a sales problem per se. But it's lead generation is a challenge for me, and I was getting very frustrated because I was following a lot of what best practices and things I'd learned here and there and everywhere, and it wasn't really working the way, or it wasn't delivering the leads that those people were promising in their course. And so, but what I have discovered is, I'm a projector in my human design. I don't know if you're familiar with human design, but
Yep.
I'm supposed to wait for the invitation. And that has completely transformed how I view my marketing, how I do my marketing. So for me, it's a lot more about creating relationships. It's a lot about giving a lot of what I have, a lot of my insights, a lot of my ideas, giving really generously and seeing my marketing as the start of the process of working with me. And simply by understanding and doing this, it has completely, what it has done for me, it has taken away the frustration of that I was having, which was I would put out a freebie or an email newsletter or whatever, and I wasn't really seeing the returns that everybody was promising me. But what I've started to understand is it doesn't really work for me, in terms of my own energy and my own personality, and I just need to be patient. And it's been extraordinary because since I've kind of let go of the outcome, it's brought me a lot of different opportunities. I've had people approach me for things where I don't even know where they've come from. right? I can't say, oh, they've come from a post that I've done or a newsletter that I've done. But I've also learned that this is kind of how it works for projectors, and we kind of have to wait patiently for those people to discover us. So the reason I'm sharing all of this is because I have also met quite a lot of projectors along the way. Maybe seem to recognize each other, but the big lesson for anybody, because not everybody is a projector, others are, generators or manifestors, etc., different types, is it's a lot. Marketing yourself and your business is a lot about learning about yourself and understanding yourself and creating those strategies that are going to be unique for you and that are going to work for you. And it has to, the marketing has to be fulfilling, right? It's a big part of our business. And if you don't enjoy marketing yourself, you're not going to want to do it. And if
Yeah.
you're working for yourself, if you don't market yourself, you are not going to get the business. So you need to create a marketing system and strategy and campaigns that are fulfilling and excite you and that you like and that you enjoy. And if you haven't got that, I would say that's one of the biggest investment and the best investments you can do is understand how you're going to get there. How are you going to get to enjoy marketing yourself? And I truly believe that it is possible for anybody to identify. You just need to find what it is that works for you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is always about like really making sure that we all have some like set of strengths, right? So if I'm trying to play on those, the result is going to be positive. If I'm trying to make out of myself something that I'm not really that, it's just not gonna because there is a misalignment in terms of who I am and how I'm trying to present myself. So I
Exactly.
completely agree with you on that front. At the same time, though, like, can we argue the fact that there is simply some strategies and some things that work and there are some that don't work? Not really. But I feel like there is something about what you're saying that everybody listening to this conversation should realize that we're good at something and that's something that we should follow and just build on top of, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, go ahead. I feel
Exactly.
like,
No, that's exactly right. And I remember having a conversation with a fellow practitioner, and she said to me, she said, "I hate marketing. This is not my job." And I said, "Well, is your practice 80% full?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, therefore, I'm afraid to, break it to you, but
yeah,
marketing is the job. Until you are 80% full, or even 100%, but, 80% for sake of argument, until you're 80% full and those people start referring other people to you, etc., your job is marketing. You cannot escape that. And if you do not want to do that, then maybe the way forward for you is to find an associate position in a bigger practice. And there is no shame in doing that at all. If you train as a coach, it doesn't have to be for you to then be an entrepreneur. You can work for someone else. That's not a problem. That is a business model in a way. um, and that's also okay to recognize that. But yeah, I think for me that's the biggest investment that people can make in their business and their growth is understanding what marketing are they going to enjoy so that they keep doing it. It's a bit like exercise, right? We talk about it with exercise. It's like, well, if you hate going to the gym, don't make that the exercise that you do every week.
hmm,
Find what it is that you find exciting. Is it gardening? Is it dancing? Is it swimming? Is it whatever? And it's the same with marketing. Find the thing that you enjoy. So one of the things I really enjoy is networking, and I've started networking a lot more um face to face as well, because I think also people are getting a little bit sick of digital stuff. So I'm doing much more networking locally, and it's giving me a lot of energy and it's giving me a lot of, opportunities.
absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Caroline, I'm curious what's going to happen with the company in the future, though, because obviously there is there is a lot of passion that you have for what you do and what kind of impact you want to have on your clients. So I'm curious, when you think about the future and maybe specifically the short-term goals,
Mhm.
let's say the next 6 to 12 months, what would you say really are the biggest targets, goals, revenue, milestones that you want to hit?
So for me, it's growing my speaking engagements. I would like to reach a wider audience. So that's where I'm going to focus um, my attention. I I don't want to grow a practice with multiple coaches, associates, etc. I want to remain a solopreneur, um, just because I don't want to employ anyone or anything like that. So that's my biggest goal is looking for speaking engagements, um, because they are lucrative and also they allow you to reach a bigger audience, which is my goal.
Most definitely. Now, when you think about this kind of growth and having your attention on this, out of everything, what would you expect to become the biggest challenge to make it happen?
To be honest, it's very much uh, limiting beliefs on my part. So it's a lot of the work that I have to do on myself, which is, yeah, reaching out to people, going to, I have a huge network. I worked in advertising for 20 years. I have the network. Now the next step is for me to tap into that network and have the courage to reach out to people that maybe I haven't spoken to for a few years or what have you. So I think that's the biggest thing is working on my mindset and my courage to reach out and but remembering always that I have a big story to share and I have a message and I truly hope that we can make a better world. And that's my ultimate vision, obviously, but how I'm going to go about it is through my coaching.
Oh, yes, you do have a story.
Yes.
100%. So I'm definitely going to be the biggest fan on this. I'm definitely going to support you on the journey. Now, one last question though, before
Hmm.
we wrap it up here, and this is actually one of my favorite ever. Obviously, you've been in the business for quite some time at this point. So if you could travel back in time and maybe speak to yourself at the very, very beginning of that journey as an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
what would be the best piece of advice that you would give yourself?
I love that question, and I'm so glad I reflected on it before we jumped on today. I would say, I mean, there are so many great advice out there from a lot of fabulous people. For me, it's very much there is not one magic formula despite all the marketing messages that you are going to be bombarded with, people telling you that if you follow the formula, you are going to generate X number of, clients or revenue or leads or whatever. I I've invested so much money in all those magic promises, and it's never delivered what they've claimed. Now, I'm not blaming them. I think that's a great, it's part of the marketing game, right? And probably what they've created and what they are selling has worked for them. But that's the whole point, is it worked for them. It doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody. It might work for 10, 20, maybe 50% of the people who buy the course, but for a vast majority of people, it will not. Now, it doesn't mean don't invest in anything. Um, by all means, you do need to upskill yourself. And if you've never worked for yourself, there will be things you need to learn along the way. So invest in courses with the view of upscaling yourself and then learning from these people and create your very own magic formula, which is unique to you. But yes, stop believing that there is one magic formula that is going to deliver everything, because it won't. It does not exist.
I like the way you put it. And I also love to finish the podcast on a little bit of wisdom. So I appreciate you sharing that. Caroline, you had a lovely, lovely journey. I'm excited for what's going to happen with you and the business in the future. So at this point, I'm going to say thank you so much for taking the time today, sharing the story with me and the audience.
Thank you
And
so much, Milan.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to have you on. If anybody from the listeners would like to connect with you and one day perhaps even work with you,
Mhm.
how to go about it?
I'm on LinkedIn or Instagram. That's my main two places where I hang out. So Caroline Lamont on LinkedIn, and I believe Instagram is Caroline Lamont Coaching.
Beautiful. Caroline Lamont on LinkedIn, Caroline Lamont Coaching on Instagram.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you again. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Lovely. Now, to our
Okay.
listeners, if today's conversation inspired you as well, make sure to subscribe to Founders Future on your favorite platform. And also, if you're a business owner, more specifically a consultant or a coach, or you have an agency and you're trying to scale the business and really enhance both your sales and marketing efforts, also visit closers.io, get in touch with our team, and discover how exactly we scaled our company from zero to over 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on crushing it, and I'll see you on the next one.